Hey guys, this is Steve Huff at SteveHuffPhoto.com, and I'm here today with a look at the gear that I am currently using. The gear that I use every day or every other day or whenever I go out. And believe me, it's tough to pick what I like, but I want to talk a little bit about each of these cameras and maybe some lenses as well to tell you what I like about them. This is the Olympus Pen F. To me, this is one of the coolest cameras to come out in 2016. If you hear any noises in the background, it's just my dogs coming in and out of their doggy door. So just ignore it. There's no way I can control it. They go in and out all day long. But the Pen F is Olympus's newest and coolest pen. The first pen model to have a built-in EVF, and it's quite good. It has the new chrome and monochrome modes with a flick of the dial. It's built very well. It feels more hefty than, for example, my Sony A6300 and competing Fuji cameras. I love the Pen F. To me, it's between this and the EM1, which is now getting old, but with Olympus creating and releasing all this amazing firmware all the time for their cameras, I rank Olympus as #1 for firmware updates and releases. The Pen F is quick, it's beautiful. The image quality is about the same as the EM1, EM5, EM10, etc. Of course, it uses micro four thirds, but Olympus has some amazing lenses out there for this system. Some of the best lenses that are out there for any system. And to be honest, I prefer the Olympus Zuiko lenses and the Panasonic lenses to, say, the Sony lenses for their A7 series. These are smaller. They're amazing in sharpness and detail. And if you get lenses like the Nocticron, you have plenty of shallow depth of field. So to me, the Olympus Pen and the Panasonic GX8 are the coolest micro four thirds cameras ever released. I have a feeling there's going to be an EM1 Mark II down the road very soon. But for now, I'm in love with the Pen. It's just a beautiful camera in construction. Has the flip out LCD. You don't even have to use it. You can flip it out and just make it nothing. You have like an instant Leica M60 right there. Instead of paying 20 grand or whatever, 10 grand, I don't know what it is these days. You're paying about $1 grand, 1,200 bucks for an Olympus pen. So I rate the Olympus pen very highly. The Pen F still, it's been out for many months now. It's still one of my favorite cameras. On it is the Fisheye Pro, the 8mm f1.8. And let me show you another crazy lens from Olympus that I've been enjoying. Here is a crazy, crazy lens. This is the 300mm f4 Pro. And basically that's going to give you a 600mm equivalent on an Olympus Micro Four Thirds camera. So what you have here is a 600mm f4 Pro lens. That is insane. And it comes in at much less. I think there's a Canon or Nikon 600mm for DSLR. That's over 10 grand. This you're looking at about $2,500. It's a beautiful lens. It has a built-in slide-out hood, so there's no big unruly attachment that you would slide on. You have manual focus, autofocus abilities, in-lens image stabilization. You have your distance settings. If you want to snap it to manual focus, it has that clutch. You pull back. It's pretty cool. So this is a 300mm f4, and to be honest, this is up there in quality with the new Leica 90-280, except your smaller sensor camera, micro four thirds. Anybody who wants to shoot wildlife, sports, birds, you know, that kind of thing, you must take a look at the 300mm f4. You could rent it at lensrentals.com, which is where I rent a lot of gear. But I wrote a first look report on this lens. You could see it at SteveHuffPhoto.com. Another great micro four thirds lens. All right, so right here I have an Olympus EM10 Mark II. Since the Pen F arrived, I don't use the EM10 Mark II too much, but the lens on this guy is what I truly admire. This is the 7-14 Pro f2.8. Beautiful lens. I've used some of the great ultra wides in my time, from DSLR lenses like the Nikon 14-24 Of course, the Canon 16-35s, the Sony Zeiss 16-35. This lens right here, the 7-14 on micro four thirds, is going to give you a 14-28 equivalent, which is perfect. I've never used a higher quality ultra wide, let's just put it that way. This for me beats the Sony 16-35 f4 in corner sharpness and overall pop and snap. Beautiful lens, highly recommended. The 7-14 Pro. I'm not a long telephoto or an extreme wide angle guy, but I use this lens quite a bit for video stuff I do. Very cool. And with the 5-axis image stabilization in the Olympus bodies today, it creates a really silky smooth video. So let's go on to the next camera I want to show you guys. Alright guys, here is the Sony RX10 Mark III 24mm to 600mm f2.4 to f4 aperture in this all-in-one body. That is amazing. I love the RX10 Mark I. I kind of gave a pass to the RX10 Mark II. I didn't think it was an improvement enough, though many loved it. And Sony did some statistics and found that the RX10 Mark II, many pros were using as a second camera or backup. Now we have the RX10 Mark III, which delivers amazing capabilities. Think about this. You have an all-in-one camera body that's $1,500. You have a lens that gives you 24 to 600mm equivalent. And you can start that at f2.4. Even at 600mm, you're at f4. Meaning, this is some highly capable stuff going on right here. I don't really know what else to say. This is an impressive camera. The only weakness to many is the 1-inch sensor, but these days these 1-inch sensors are fantastic. And I did a side-by-side comparison over at stevehufffphoto.com of the RX10 Mark III. I think I did it against the Olympus 300mm Pro, which also gives a 600mm equivalent. But this guy is awesome. The video capabilities are off the charts. You have 4K capability. You have those slow motion capabilities and high frame per second rates. You have an adjustable LCD. You have a nice EVF. You have a little display here where all your settings will pop up. I don't know if I have a battery in here. I do. So the lens pops out when you turn it on. And the focus is quick. Autofocus is very fast. The only weakness is the 1-inch sensor. So you're not going to get that super shallow full frame style depth of field. You're also not going to get that full frame dynamic range, but you are getting extreme power all in one body. No need to carry multiple lenses. No need for multiple bodies. If you want to shoot photos, it's awesome. If you want to shoot video, it's even better. The built-in mic for video in this is actually quite amazing. I did a test against my Rode VideoMic X and the built-in mic, and there was very minimal differences, and that Rode VideoMic X is $800. So highly recommended, the Sony RX10 Mark III. Anyone who wants an all-in-one super camera with a super zoom, and guess what? It's a Zeiss lens. Vario Sonar T-Star Zeiss lens, f2.4 to f4 aperture. So this is a camera that a lot of people are looking to get. It's sold out everywhere from what I can tell, but really, really good camera from Sony. All right, who can leave out the RX1R Mark II? I loved the RX1R, the first one, the RX1. I mean, they were my favorite cameras at the time. There was no competition at the time. Now you have the Leica Q that competes with the RX1R Mark II. But for me, it's the RX1R Mark II all the way because of the dynamic range, which I found to be a little better than the Leica. And the size is smaller. And I just kind of dig the look and style of this when I pimped it out with the lens hood, the grip from JB Designs, which is gorgeous. Check jbdesigns.com. They're on Amazon as well. You can get the grip. He makes them for almost every camera. Has an EVF, a pop-up EVF. I put a little shutter button on it. I have a really nice, beautiful, soft leather strap here, which I will tell you guys more about later. But the RX1R Mark II is another camera people have been having a hard time finding in stock, and I'm not sure exactly the reason for that. But it's a beautiful camera, a little pricey, but you're getting a full frame, massive resolution 36 megapixel camera here from Sony that can deliver medium format style images in a 35 millimeter format. So RX1R Mark II, one of my favorite cameras of all time, along with the RX1R Mark I. Both are stunning. We have the Sony A6300, which is the follow-up to the best-selling mirrorless camera under $1,000 of last year, from what I understand. This is the A6300. Now the A6000 was very big for Sony, very popular because it was small, it was fast, there was a growing collection of lenses for the system, and basically this soups up the A6000 on every level, from speed to tracking to video to every conceivable area. You have the same size body, though it seems to be a little sleeker. And right now I have the Petzval 58 f1.9 lens attached, which is an interesting lens. It's like the 85 they have. You focus right here with the little dial. You have aperture plates that go in. I leave mine out because I just leave it wide open, and they seem to be loose and fall out sometimes. But this lens has the bokeh control that goes from 1 to 7. If you want massive swirl, you set it to 7. If you want more normal bokeh, you set it to 1, though you're not going to get any normal bokeh with this lens. It's a unique lens. It's beautiful, gives a very classic old school charm to portraits, and you can be really creative with this lens. I liked it so much I bought it from cameraquest.com. They sent me one to review, and I said, well, I think I'm just going to buy it and keep it. So I kept this lens. It's a beauty, but it's not for everyday use. On the A6300, it works like a charm. On the A7 series, it works like a charm. This is a Nikon mount, but I have the Nikon to NEX E-mount adapter, and I think this was under 10 bucks for the adapter on Amazon. But the A6300, I've been shooting with it more and more, and it's so fast and so responsive. It's APS-C. You have 4K video capabilities, and it's one of the great values. Even though it's not cheap, it is a value for what you get for the money. Spec-wise, it outperforms most APS-C cameras that I have found. Not everybody will like the design and looks of it, though. Fuji cameras give a little more of a cool design, cool appearance, and add a little bit of that nostalgia. The Sony cameras are a little more sterile in design. I've tried talking with Sony, saying you should come out with a really, really cool retro-ish style camera. I mean, look at the Pen F, look at the Fuji X Pro 2, the, all the Fuji stuff, the X100. There's a charm about those cameras because of the style. So the A6300 loses a little bit of charm for me, but that doesn't take away how impressive it is in use. So anybody could pick up this camera, amateur, pro, enthusiast, and really, really dig it. It does a lot of things right. A6300 with the Petzval 58 1.9 lens. Wow, I'm gonna have to back up my tripod here. I'm at 16 millimeters shooting with an A7R II, and I could barely fit this in the frame. This is the Leica SL with the 90 to 280 zoom lens. I will say it right now, there's tons of Leica haters out there. Anytime I praise anything by Leica, they cry, "Oh, you're a fanboy." Pfft. I like all cameras that are made well, feel great in the hand, are responsive, have a high usability factor, which means they can do a lot of things and do it well. The SL, first of all, it won my Camera of the Year last year, and for good reason. There's no other digital full-frame camera on the market, 35 millimeter format, that is built to this level, that has the color this sensor can put out, that has the simplistic menus, that follows the Leica philosophy of just simple photography. It has so many great features on this camera. Now the lens is a beast. Look at this, is with the lens hood on. Let me take it off. It's a little better, see? I have found not one flaw with this lens at any of the focal ranges. At 90 millimeter, it's beautiful. At 280, it's beautiful. The color is amazing. It compares to the 50-8 lens on the M mount. The AF speed is acceptable. It's fast. It's not blazing fast, but I didn't have any issues with AF. And the way the Leica SL has that nice little joystick on the back, you can put that focus point anywhere you want. But the isolation, the bokeh, the detail, the sharpness, it's just simply astounding. And Leica has, again, released new firmware for the SL, and they keep improving it. But the SL is a camera you have to use and experience in order to appreciate. That EVF is like going to a drive-in theater. You put your eye up to it, and it's just massive. It's sharp. It's clear. It's beautiful. Again, the simplicity of the SL system is just something you don't see in most digital cameras. For example, the Sony A7R2 that I'm filming this with is amazing. It has everything but the kitchen sink, and it works well. And it's much cheaper than an SL. It's smaller, has more lenses available. But when you want that perfection, you know, some people want the pride of ownership, and you get that with the SL. And even though this lens is humongous, it's only an inch shorter than most 70 to 200 DSLR lenses, though it's made to a much higher level, and you're getting that extra reach of 280 millimeter. So this is one of the most beautiful combos I've ever shot with in my life. And it is what it is. Unfortunately, it costs a fortune. You're looking at $7,500 or $6,000, something like that. So you're looking at a boatload of cash for this system. Add the 24 to 90, you know, and the upcoming 50 Summilux, and all three lenses and an SL are what, around 20 grand? I mean, you can put a down payment on a house for that. You can buy a small car for that, you know, depending on what you're looking at. So you have to be really passionate about photography and Leica in general in order to go for something like this. But if you want something that you will never be disappointed in quality-wise, this is it. So that was a look at the cameras that I use on a daily basis. The one camera that didn't get shown that I use a lot is the A7R2. It's filming this video with the 16 to 35 Sony Zeiss lens. But I love my A7R2 to death. I love the A7S II as well, probably even more, but I couldn't afford to add that to this collection of cameras. As it is, I have too many cameras, and this isn't even all of them. These are the ones that I've been swapping out lately and using the most. I still have an Olympus EM1 hanging in the office. I have a Sony RX100, a Mark IV hanging out in the office. I have a bunch of other lenses in there. I probably have 20 lenses in there. But these are what I use most of the time and what I've been reviewing lately the last few weeks. As far as lenses for my Sony, I love the 35-1.4 Zeiss Sony lens. I love the Loxia lenses. You know, the GM series I've written about and did videos on, the G Master. All stunning. Today, you know, in 2016, it's a great time to be a photographer, a hobbyist, a pro, enthusiast, whatever, amateur. We have so much to choose from that is high quality. And even though phones are taking over the world of photography, the #1 camera in the world is an iPhone. So even though that's the fact, there's still those of us that are passionate, enthusiastic, and excited about these kind of cameras, because we know using a phone is never as satisfying as using a real camera, ever. I don't care what anyone tells you. If they tell you, ooh, I can use my iPhone and my pictures are just as good, it's not always about the photographer. You know, they say it's the photographer, not the gear, but the gear goes a long way. If you're a photographer with skill and using an iPhone, your photos will be limited. If you're a pro or an excellent photographer using something like this or an A7R2 or any of the ones I've shown, your photos will jump up in quality and be much more pleasing to look at. So it's not always just the photographer. But anyway, there you go. That was a look at some of the latest gear I've been using here in May of 2016. This is Steve Huff. Thank you for coming to SteveHuffPhoto.com.